In today's video, I'm going over 3 main things to focus on when it comes to making money publishing audiobooks through Audible and ACX. What is going on, guys? Welcome to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Dane, and on this channel I talk all about self-publishing books on Amazon, all on entrepreneurship and just lifestyle in general. So if that kind of thing interests you, make sure you subscribe, drop a like on the video, and hit the notification bell so you know when I post new videos. In today's video, I'm going over 3 of the main ways that you're going to be making money when it comes to publishing audiobooks through Audible and ACX. So with these 3 ways, I'm just going over them in my computer here. There's also be a bonus way at the end, so make sure you stick around for that. But anyways, let's jump in my computer and get into these. So number 1 is making audiobooks 5 hours or more, okay? And this is going to come as a shock to a lot of people, and I totally understand it. When I first started making audiobooks, started making money with them, this wasn't really the case. The main thing that you probably are aware of, if you're aware of how to make money with audiobooks and self-publishing audiobooks and stuff like that, is getting them to around 3 hours longer or more. And that's still totally fine. But what I've found within the most recent months is that 3-hour long audiobooks are pretty saturated. And if you can get that thing to 5 hours or more, you're going to stand out by default without having to do much more work. Okay, and I'm talking about standing out from competitors here. And typically speaking, a book that is around 30,000, 25,000 words is going to be around 3 hours or more longer. When it comes to 5 hours or more, usually around 40 to 45,000 words. I'll talk about this in a second though, okay? So anyways, most competitors are going to aim for 3 hours, okay? This is what I just mentioned, and it's kind of the medium that most people are going to aim for. And it's kind of gotten too saturated at this point. And as you can see, I said this is starting to get outdated. And I'm not trying to say it's a bad thing to have a 3-hour or 30,000 long word audiobook. It's totally fine. You can totally get away with it still with a bunch of niches. But if you want to make it easier on yourself in order to compete with different people, different niches, different keywords on Audible, 5 hours is beginning to be the sweet spot. So like I just said, 5 hours only requires your books to be around 40 to 45,000 words long. You can do 50,000 words just to be safe. Generally speaking, 10,000 words equals an hour in audio. So it's up to you. I've found that even sometimes a 35,000 word book can get to 5 hours long. It depends how fast your narrator is speaking, how many images you have them explaining, stuff like that. 40 to 45,000 words will generally get you to 5 hours or more long. And finally, it might cost more to have this kind of thing made. Obviously, because the book is longer, you have to pay for a ghostwriter. Unless you're writing it yourself, that's totally fine. But if you're hiring a ghostwriter, the more words that they're writing, the more it's going to cost. And the longer it is, the more it's going to cost to have it narrated, because you're usually paying per finished hour. But trust me, in the long run, this will pay off huge, because you're going to make way more money, because it'll rank higher. It'll get way more sales if it's 5 hours or more long. It just adds way more value to the book. And remember, on Audible, if you're familiar, a 5-hour long audiobook actually is a higher price tier than a 3-hour audiobook. A 3-hour audiobook sells for around $14.99 on Audible. 5 hours usually $19.99 or more. So you're getting a higher royalty rate when it's 5 hours longer. It's ranking higher because it's more popular. You're out competing the competitors. With 3-hour long audiobooks, it just makes more sense. Number 2 is focus on the listener's wants. Now, what do I mean by this? So make sure your books make sense in audio format. An example of this is that cookbooks make basically no sense in audio format. Don't get me wrong, maybe some of them actually make sense, and maybe you like to have audio formatted cookbooks. But for the most part, when you think about it, if you're trying to put a cookbook into audio format, it's generally not really going to make sense, because most people who are reading a cookbook want to look at the pictures. They want to look at the recipe and follow along as they're creating the recipe or the meal or whatever it is. Especially with pictures and cookbooks, people want to see pictures of what the recipe or the finished product is going to look like. So a cookbook in audio format just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So that's just one thing to keep in mind. How-to style books that require pictures, so for example, like knitting for beginners, and I'll show you this in just a second, make no sense either. A how-to tutorial style book that has like pictures in it, if you're putting that into audio format, just kind of think for a second, how is that going to make sense, and why would someone buy that over the paperback or ebook version of your book? I'll show you an example of this right now. So if I go to here, and I want to show you the 5-hour thing. I forgot to show you this before, but for example, if I search up real estate investing, the books that are ranking highest are the ones that are longer. Okay, 13 hours, 9 hours long, 9 hours long, 5 hours long. You have to go all the way down to the, 5th or 6th result to find a book that's ranking that's at 3 hours long. All the other ones around it are super long, 8 hours, 16 hours. So the longer your book is, the better chance it's going to sell higher. It's going to sell for a higher price. You can see this one's $24.99 because it's 16 hours, $19.95, 8-hour long, $14.95 for the 3 hour long. So that just kind of to prove my point, what I was talking about there. That's just what I found over the past few months. You used to be able to get away with 3 hour audiobooks, no problem. But now 5 hours kind of seems like the sweet spot. To expand on what I was just talking about with knitting for beginners, you'll see there's only 25 results. And I know that seems low. And it's like, oh, there's no competition. I could definitely compete in this. But there's kind of a reason that there's only 25 results. Knitting for beginners, it doesn't make sense. And I'm using this plugin called BSR Master to see the BSR for audiobooks. And you'll see they're all like 200K plus, 140, excuse me, 280, 265. So very high. They're not a whole lot of demand for these guys. When we're looking at audiobooks, and I'll talk about this in a second, we're looking for audiobooks that are below 10K or so. So you can see they're very high. They're not selling very well. And it just doesn't make sense to make a knitting for beginners book in audio format. Number 3 on this list is keyword profitability criteria list. Okay, so let's go over the things that are gonna make your audiobook sell if you wanna get into a certain niche or keyword. So 3 hours minimum or 5 hours ideally, right? I was just talking about this, but you wanna make sure you can get that thing to 3 hours minimum or 5 hours ideally. I already talked about this, but this is the keyword profitability criteria list for reason number 3 on how to make money with audiobooks. Number 2 is there 100 or so results or less, and don't go for that really low number because that example I just showed you with knitting for beginners, there's 25 there, seems very low, but that kind of means there's no demand for it either, right? So make sure it's around 100 results or so. You don't want like thousands of results like that real estate for beginners keyword I looked up there. There's way too much competition there. But around 100 is a good number to look for. Another one is generally around or less than 100 reviews on competitors that you're going to compete with. So if there's thousands of reviews on all of the competitors, it's going to be very hard to rank on that first page and get that social proof to outcompete the other people who have like thousands of reviews already on their books. No one's going to buy a book that has only a couple of reviews compared to a book with thousands. And finally, BSR below 10K. Just talked about that with the knitting for beginners example. 200K is very high with that example, so 10K is a good benchmark when it comes to popular audiobooks. And when we talk about books on KDP, so like paperbacks and ebooks, we're looking for around under 150K. But since there's way less competition on Audible, 10K to 20K and under is a good range when it comes to an average BSR. I'll show you some examples right now. So if I go on Audible, I just searched up a few examples, like the real estate for beginners one you saw had like 1,000 results, tons of books with thousands of reviews, very hard to compete with. The BSRs are really good, 2,000, or 2,000 again, 2,000, 700. So there's lots of demand for them, but it's gonna be hard to compete with this niche. A niche that's kind of in between, 700 results for options trading. It's not showing me the BSRs for some reason, but I'm assuming these are pretty low. There's tons of results. There's probably a lot of demand for these kind of things, but they have thousands of reviews as well. Gonna be hard to compete with. Not even thousands, hundreds. So it's not too bad to be honest with you, but you can see 400, 5,000. That's a tough one. So it's actually not too bad in the reviews department. It's just that there's a lot of results. It'll be hard to compete with that. If I go to off the grid, this is another one. You can see this one's a little bit better. And what I was talking about before, the length, obviously the longer ones are ranking higher. This one only is 2 hours, so it's ranking high, but it has tons of reviews, tons of social proof. So it's kind of outweighing that. 6 hours long, 3 hours long. So this is a niche you probably get away with a 3 hour long audiobook. Like I was saying before, not all niches you need it, but some niches, if you want to stand out, now it's getting to the point where you need to make a 5 hour long audiobook to stand out. But you see the BSRs aren't amazing here, 30,000, 100,000, 68,000. So this wouldn't be a keyword that's super, super popular, but there's only 85 results. It's not too bad in that area. Hydroponics, I always use this, tried and true. But it's not loading the BSRs for some reason. Sometimes this plugin works, sometimes it doesn't. 165 results. It's not too bad. But you can see the competitors under 100 reviews. So it's not too bad either. So it's definitely a decent niche. Unfortunately, I can't see the BSRs, so I'm not 100% sure how in demand this keyword is. I'd imagine it's not too bad, but not too amazing. The last one here is how to talk to anyone. And you'll see the very first result has a ton of reviews, so it'd be tough to compete with. But as you scroll below it, there's not a lot of books that have thousands of reviews. So it wouldn't be too bad to get in here. How to win friends, that's obviously me. That's just kind of an outlier in here. But there's not a bad niche. You can see the BSRs are pretty low, not super low, but it's not a bad one. So that's a decent example, not a whole lot of results. So just want to show you guys some different examples and how I would do keyword research if I was looking for things in this criteria here that I was talking about. Finally, let's get into the bonus way to make money publishing audiobooks, and it is creating audiobooks that can be put into a series. You're probably wondering, why a series? Well, with this series, this means you can make singles and then combine them for even longer, more profitable books in a bundled format. So for example, if you have a 4-book series and each of those books has 40K words, that means that each of them will be around 5 hours each. Okay, so you have 20 hours of audio content there in a series of books that are all similar. With that, you can bundle 2 of them and make a 10-hour long bundle. So that'll be another book. And then you make a second book out of the other 2 and make another 10-hour long audiobook. So in total, you have 6 audiobooks. Okay, so you're actually expanding off of work that you're not even paying for because you're just bundling them together, which is completely allowed in Audible's terms. Okay, I'm not breaking any terms with this. You can bundle similar books, and then you'll get 2 5-hour long books put together. It makes a 10-hour long book. Or you can go ahead and put 4 of those books together and make a massive bundle, 20 hours long, and make even more money. Okay. I know this is common knowledge when it comes to KDP. Lots of people make bundles, totally fine. I don't see a lot of people taking advantage of audiobook bundles. And this is definitely an area that you should take advantage of if you want to make a lot of money with Audible. Okay. So that's the bonus way to make money publishing books through Audible. Anyways, guys, that is pretty much it for this video on how to make money publishing audiobooks. Gave you 3 ways plus a bonus way. Way number 1 was making them 5 hours or longer. Way number 2 was focusing on the listener's wants. All right. Number 3 was the keyword profitability criteria there. And I don't need to go over it again. You can go back in the video what falls into that criteria. And finally, the bonus one was making a series and making bundles out of those similar books. Okay, so if you guys enjoyed this, make sure you let me know in the comment section down below. If you have any video suggestions or anything you want me to make about publishing online, leave them down below. I'll definitely take a look at those. I'm looking for suggestions for videos all the time. If you guys enjoyed it, make sure you subscribe, drop a like on the video, and hit the notification bell so you know when I post new videos. Try to post new videos every single week, but that's it for this one, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.